Thank you. Good to have you here this morning. So we are live. We're on. And folks, great show today. I've got some surprise guests coming up in just a minute. I know. And Denny Hurst will be here with us. Denny, all the way from Portugal and, well, parts unknown around the world. Denny's going to be joining us. We're going to talk a little bit about his ministry. Steiger also, and we're going to talk about our history a little bit. Going to go back a few years and talk about some festivals we've done together, and just going to have a great time with Denny a little later on in our show. Folks, as always, if you're just tuning in, would you let me know where you're watching from? That would be great. Whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or any of the many places that this appears right now, just say good morning and let us know where you're from. It's always kind of cool to see where people are from. Sonic Grace is here this morning and says howdy. Folks, great to have you here. It really is. I love the family that we have here together, and that's the best part, isn't it? It really is. We're going to talk a little bit about Immortal Fest 1. We just finished and had a really, really great time with that. Very well attended, lots of great bands. It was really, really great. Barry Morrison is here. I saw him this weekend. He says, good morning, Pastor Bob, John Cassandra, and the Sanctuary family. Love you all. And Barry, we love you very, very much. Just saying. AB, our good friend, good morning. How are you? This Friday, I'm going to see Holy Name, Impending Doom, Convictions, Dynasty, Meadows, Pray for Worship, Fellowship, Safety, Conversion of Unbelievers, and Having Fun. I saw that show was happening. Man, I would love to be there. And of course, we had Tommy Green from Holy Name with us last time, and such a great discussion on worship and how God is leading with worship right now. Sonic Grace says, rocking in a new day. Yes, and we are. It's a new day. Kevin Gross is here from, Inner Siege played this weekend. Kevin is the guitar player, and he's also been the guitar player for Sanctuary International Worship Team. And Kevin, good to have you here today. He's one of my favorite guitar players. Great guy. Kyle is here. Good morning from Holland, Michigan. And good to have you here as well, Kyle. Emma, our good friend from Montana, a good friend of mine, and mother of the guys from Mangled Carpenter, the band. And, two twin brothers are heading up that band, and we had them on not long ago, too. Stephen Cole is here from Southern Oklahoma, and we've got quite a few in the United States today. Don't forget, if you're joining us, please sign in. Let us know where you're watching from. And James says, good morning, Pastor Bob from Indiana. Great to have you here from Indiana. We were almost in Indiana the other day with being in Ohio. Watching on YouTube from Cleveland, Ohio, and great friends in Cleveland. We went through it twice this last week, and traffic jams in Cleveland, just saying. I'm sure you're used to that. Orient East, Netherlands. Wow. All from all over. Good to see you here today. And good afternoon from there. David Kelly White is here from Littleton, Colorado. 71 degrees in Littleton. That sounds really good. A lot of really bad fires in Colorado right now, and a lot of people that are afraid of losing their homes in the fires. It's not so good. Victoria is here. Good morning from New Mexico. Good to have you here. And there we go. I was just going to say, where's our international people? Diego is here from Argentina. And folks, again, sign in. Let me know where you're from. Good morning from Michigan. Ron is here. So it was so good this weekend to talk to so many of you. And if you were at the festival this weekend, let me know that as well. Angela's watching from Michigan. So it's great to hear people's stories. And, next year is our 40th anniversary for Sanctuary. We're up to something for the 40th anniversary celebration. But it's 40 years. And I loved listening to 40 years of stories. People have just the greatest stories. And I love that part of it. So David says replacement to Cornerstone from years past. Not really, David. It's not that kind of festival. It's held in an expo center, a great big exposition center, with a huge stage, and it's band after band, and that's kind of the way it was. I hosted the event. I introduced each band, and then we had a sanctuary service on Sunday that we'll talk about in just a minute too. But really great time with everyone. Matt is here this morning watching on Facebook in Brentwood, Tennessee. Matt is part of Sanctuary here in Middle Tennessee, and we love him. Amber, good to see you today. Um, and Amber was at the event this weekend too. Bubba's here, says hello, dear brother. Good to see you, my friend. And you know, great crowd once again, and very responsive. Everybody excited to see all the bands that played, and it was really fun. And Dave says we were so glad to be with you and the Sanctuary team on Sunday. Yes, great Sanctuary service, and it was a lot of fun. And to spend some time in worship, and I had a word from the Lord that I feel like God had led me to speak, and we had a great time. James Nelson, good morning, Sanctuary family. Folks, if you're just joining us, if you could sign in, let me know where you're watching from. It's always kind of a fun thing to do. So on the show today, we got Denny Hurst is going to be with us in just a little bit. We got the girls from the worship team that's going to be here too. Jonas is here this morning from Kenya, Sanctuary, Kenya. And he says, good morning, checking in. I could have been there. I wish I could have been there at Immortal Fest. Enjoyed all the videos online. I hope we have you there the next time we do a big event like that, Jonas. Jonas, as you know, is part of the worship team there that are working on an album right now. And all the way from Kenya, Africa. So David Kelly White, I'll be posting this live podcast after this is done. And thank you, folks. If you could like and share and subscribe, that would be awesome. That really helps us with our numbers, helps us get out there. And the algorithms are not always our friends. Joey Mancaruso, part of our worship team. Our drummer, Pastor Bob, love you and looking forward to this weekend. Yes. And this weekend, by the way. Let's talk about that. We have the Sanctuary Gathering this weekend. Big event. It's Saturday and Sunday this weekend. And our theme is Joy to the World. Going to do a little bit of a Christmas thing, but mainly it's Joy to the World. And August 3rd, which is this Saturday, 3 p.m., August 4th, 10:30 a.m. And if you can come and join us here at Sanctuary, we'd love to have you. Worship team will be playing, and I'll be speaking, and we have some surprises. So come and join us if you can. That would be awesome. Gary Ireton, good morning to you. Good morning from Southern California. Good friend, Gary. So I want to tell you folks that, again, this weekend was a really great time for everyone. And it's not just about the bands. It really was about celebrating our faith together, because we are metal, we are family. And I want to show a couple clips, just 2 clips. And they're short clips, they're not even whole songs, just so you can get an idea of what was going on stage. These are 2 clips of our worship band from Sanctuary. John, let's roll those clips, and then we'll bring the two girls on with us as my co-hosts this morning. Let's watch. So awesome time. And as you can see, the worship team is awesome. Want to bring the two girls on with me. Crystal and Jen are here this morning. There they are. Good morning, girls.
Good morning.
Good to see you both. So one of the videos that I posted has gone viral. Lots of people excited about the worship. A lot of people saying, who are those two girls? They can really sing, which is awesome. So let's talk about the weekend, because we really did have a great time, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the worship band, you guys have been practicing for a while. You've learned some really great songs. We've had an opportunity now to play to a little bigger crowd than we usually do. And that must have felt great from the stage. How did you feel?
I will say afterward, I felt like I had such a hard time even remembering anything afterward because I feel like everyone in the room was just so present and you could really feel the Holy Spirit in that room big time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was great to look out and see so many people enjoying the same kind of music, but also worshiping together as a family. I thought it was incredible. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
The family aspect was incredible, wasn't it?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. And Jen, give us your feelings about the weekend.
Same thing that Crystal said. It was just a really powerful time in the Lord, worshiping with everyone there. Not just the worship part of it, but also just meeting people. We had wonderful opportunities to pray with people, and that was powerful. Hearing people's testimony, it was just a wonderful time. The joy of the Lord was with us all. It was just want to do it again. And
Yeah.
it was just a powerful time.
Yeah. You know, there's something about leading people in worship, and it's not so much a responsibility as it is an opportunity
Yeah.
and a blessing to be able to stand up and to say, you know, Lord, use me. Lord, I'm worshiping you, and I'm inviting these people to worship with me.
Yes.
So the one thing that I've noticed about the worship team, and you're both so good at it, the whole team is that when you're in front of people, you lose the audience. It's you and God. And I love the fact that it's not a show. Yeah, talk about that for a minute.
Well, just you don't even always mean to, because you are leading people in worship, but we talk about it, we really are playing to an audience of one, ministering to the Lord, and he'll minister to the congregation as well. So if you're dancing before the Lord, I mean, there's nothing like it. And some people, are against some things like that, but really when the Holy Spirit is dwelling within you and you're full of joy, I mean, you can't help it.
You're free.
Yeah, Crystal, yes.
Yeah.
You're singing your praises to the Heavenly Father, Jesus, who saved you,
Yeah.
from the pit of hell. So that's something to shout about. That's something to praise about, and you want to give him all the glory. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Crystal, tell us what it's like for you to be on stage there. I feel like, you know, sometimes Sundays are part of the responsibility is to kind of wake up the dead. People come in and they're a little tired, and especially the metal crowd because they've probably been up at concerts later the night before, and all of that. Um, so you have a responsibility to not only get their attention but to lead them in worship, which is an awesome thing. But it's not always an easy thing, would you say?
Yeah, I found it to be very humbling, honestly. Because usually when you're in a band or you're performing, there always I feel like there's some kind of ego involved, but when you're leading worship, you really drop all of your pride, and it's what Jen said as well, that it's really a moment also for you and the Lord, and also leading other people to feel that same way as well, that they can be free in the Holy Spirit. But
Yes.
yeah, it's been a very humbling experience, honestly, for me. I'm so grateful, and it really is a blessing. It's just been the most awesome opportunity to not only be able to, sing, which is my whole life. That's what I love to do the most. I get to do it with my best friends. I get to do it with my fiance. I get to be a part of this amazing family performing metal music, but worshiping the Lord and having a real purpose for it and being able to draw people closer to God. That is just the best feeling. It is the coolest thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Yeah.
the best part. And like you said, Crystal, you're engaged to the drummer.
Yes.
You guys, the team, and Jen, you came with your husband Wes as a team as well. He's
Yes.
one of the guitar players. Yes.
He's a great guitarist. And let's go ahead and mention, so we have Weston, my husband, on guitar. We have Weston Waters on guitar. We have Joey Mancaruso drums, Crystal's boo. We have Steve Casto playing bass. We have Jay Williams doing a lot of harsh vocals that are really powerful. We have Jamie McCavanagh, other guitarist, and also tickles the ivories. And we have Jim Laverde that was also playing keys.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a great team, and as you said, best friends.
Yes,
Really
yes.
love it.
So grateful, so grateful.
Yes. Yeah, so great. And Crystal, you mentioned that you're getting married soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very soon.
And by the way, Crystal is getting married to the first baby that was ever born in Sanctuary. Little Joey Mancaruso, not so little anymore. That was 36 years ago. But and Joey's father used to be well, he still is from time to time, but the drummer for the sanctuary worship team.
Yep.
You may remember Glenn, actually, his dad from he's a drummer for Vengeance for Die Happy. So Joey's kind of come through the sanctuary thing, and you guys met each other what a couple years ago now, and they're getting hitched soon. We're excited for that.
Yeah, talk about a product of design.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, folks, I want to remind you that the worship team is there for a good reason. And somebody said, this is power worship. And I like that idea. I like the power worship aspect of it because it is. It's power metal, but it's worship, and it speaks to a certain type of person that enjoys heavy metal. And I want to tell you folks out there that if you're doing a festival, if you're thinking, well, we'd like to host a worship celebration at our church or whatever, the worship band here at Sanctuary is available for travel, for bookings, and they're very good at it. And you can count on them to bring worship, wherever they go. And the band has kind of been designed to be a band, to be a worship band, to fit into festivals and different places so that we can bring worship. And so folks, if you're interested in booking them, let us know. We'd be happy to pass the information. Yes.
And also we're going to be writing really soon. The Lord's put lots of songs in our hearts.
Yes.
Just like Kenya, Holland, we're going to be starting to really dig deep and get some wonderful originals out.
Awesome.
Yes.
And you've already got some songs that you're writing, don't you?
Yes, Pastor Bob, we do.
Yeah, we're excited for that.
Yay.
Well, ladies, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it. People wanted to know who those two girls are, and now you know who they are. And I couldn't be more proud of both of you for the whole worship team. I sat there in the audience and watched the worship and was part of it. And I have to tell you, I sat there as a very proud papa.
Oh, we love you. That's so
Yes.
And I love what they're doing, and I love your hearts, and I just love you.
We love you.
I love you.
Thank you so much. So, ladies, let's see, if you want to book the band, please do. And pray for them as they're writing, as they're prepared not only to write new material, but for the album that's coming up as well.
Yes, please.
It's all for the King.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to come back in just a minute. Denny Hurst will be joining us. Don't go anywhere right after this. And we're back. We're back with our special guest today, a special friend of mine that I'd love to introduce you to. Denny Hurst is here with us. Denny from Portugal right now, is in Portugal, but basically a world traveler. He gets around. Good morning, Denny. Uh-oh, you're muted.
Muted
Good.
now.
We
Okay.
got you.
Good
Great.
morning, everybody. It's great to be here. I mean, you contacted me, I think, when I was on tour with
Yes.
NL, and I just couldn't believe it. It was so cool because we had lost contact there for a while.
Yes, we did. And shame on us. But it's good to see you again, my friend. So good. Denny, I want to go back into your history. You and I have known each other for probably almost 20 years. I think probably 20 years at this point.
Yeah.
Um, and we'll talk about our history. But I want to talk about your history in ministry because a lot of people have seen the Jesus People movie. They're aware of the whole Jesus People thing that happened. You also came out of that movement, and talk about your beginnings with all of this.
Well, you and I have very similar testimonies in the sense that I think you came to know the Lord when you were 5.
Yes.
And I grew up in a Christian home, and I made my um, confession of faith, asked Jesus into my life when I was 4. It was at
Wow.
a child evangelism fellowship good news club that my parents were having in our home. And so we have that similar background of giving our lives to the Lord very early age. And you then had a dream to become a pastor. And I grew up in a church that was really missions minded. And so pretty much from the age 15 on, I knew God had called me into missions. And so everything I was doing was towards that end. And originally I thought I was going to go Latin America or somewhere like that. But then I attended Urbana 79, and which was a missions conference, and got connected with YWAM in Holland. And so my first place in Europe, that's my family, by the way,
Yes.
uh, which is I'll go back to what I was saying, but what is really awesome is that they're all in Portugal now. So at one time, we were in Portugal. Our daughter was in China. Our other daughter was in, I think, the States at the time. And Isaac, I can't remember where he was. I think he was in Germany. So we're used to having our family spread out around the world. And so having them all in Portugal right now, and the 2 grandbabies as well that you saw there, is pretty awesome. And then 2 of them, Isaac and his wife Judy, and then Alana and her husband Charlie, they serve with our mission, which I'll get to eventually, Steiger International. So anyhow, I, at the age of 15, went to Expo 72. Expo 72 was basically kind of the peak of the Jesus movement.
Yes.
And that day I was at the all-day Saturday festival. First time I saw Larry Norman, first time I saw a lot of, Andre Crouch, whoever was around back then in
Right.
1972. Even Johnny Cash was there that day.
Yes.
He performed, and then Billy Graham ended the day. So that day is when kind of I nailed it with the Lord saying, 100% for you. Because I was, 15. Even though I was, going to church and everything, I never did anything. I mean, I came, from a church background. But at Expo 72 is when I said, okay, 100% for you, Lord. Went back to my high school, which was a high school of a couple thousand kids in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Asked for permission to start handing out tracts at the door after school, and bought myself a T-shirt that said "I'm a Jesus people," and bought a huge cross, and so then I started being part of the end part of the Jesus movement. attending every concert that came through the area.
Yes.
Which back in those days, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, even though it was a small city, everybody hit Lancaster. So
Yeah. Yeah. It was a hub. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And was even at the first, Jesus 73 was the first, after Expo 72 was the first Jesus Music Festival. And so I was at as well. I was there as well. So yeah, I have the background of being involved in the Jesus movement. I grew up in a kind of a conservative church. I mean, it had a huge missions emphasis, so that's where I got that calling from. But then I started, going outside the lines. Went to a place called the Way Inn. Saw Larry Norman
Yes.
live for the second time, I guess it was. Anyhow, yeah. So it's kind of my background, and always wanted to kind of use music to reach my peers. So I wasn't a musician myself, but I started learning how to roadie, set up equipment. I remember I was backstage, and man, I don't remember what year that was, for a Sweet Comfort Band
Yes.
concert in Lancaster.
One of my
Started to help.
favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when they kind of broke up and were becoming allies, I toured with them in Holland and Germany. And so it was like the two brothers on bass and drums,
Yes.
and Randy, of course, on lead guitar. But then it had Bob Carlisle instead of Brian Duncan on lead vocals, and then Sam Scott, a really good friend, on keyboards. And
Yes.
I had a great tour with those guys. In fact, they asked me to come back to the States to work with them, to be a road manager, roadie with them, because we had a great time. But I knew my calling was Europe at that point. I was already, I don't even know if I got to that. I'm kind of going ahead of myself, but through Urbana 79, which I was talking about, I got in with YWAM and went to Amsterdam. And those basically from 1980 until now, been in Europe, serving the Lord in various ministries. I was with Youth with Mission for 4 years in Amsterdam. Met my wife there, met Maureen there. Then we got married in August 3rd, 1985, and went to Italy. I don't know if John can bring up the photo. I don't know if he was able to upload that, but so Maureen and I are in a couple days, August 3rd, celebrating 39 years of marriage and ministry. Like Sanctuary, 39 years, and then we celebrate 40 next year, like Sanctuary does. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And you married well, by the way, Maureen.
Oh yeah. Everybody tells me I married way above.
Yeah.
Above what I should have.
Yes. She's great, and she's awesome. Denny, I've stayed in your home actually a couple times, 2 different occasions, and it's so always so great to be with you guys. I always, yes.
Yeah,
well,
the first time you came to Italy, when we had the Rock and the Rock festival going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met Denny. I think I met you. Well, it's interesting how we were at many of the same events for years and had never met each other.
Yeah. Cornerstone festivals, some of the old FCCM meetings, and we
so many things. When we started to compare notes, I remember it was like, oh, I was there. Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
But I officially met you in Germany.
Yeah, it was at Freakstock 2006.
Yes.
We were both there being part of what was called the Global Roundtable of Underground Ministries.
Yes, yes. It was a bunch of people in ministries and interesting. Yes, it was a great time together.
Yeah, even David Pierce, who started No Longer Music and Sanctuary, and Steiger,
Yeah.
there, and that's kind of
Yes. Yes.
I reconnected with him at that time that we met and connected for the first time.
Yes. Well,
Yeah,
you and I talked at that festival about coming uh, to do the Rock on the Rock festival,
yep,
which you did for many years, didn't you? That
yeah.
festival.
2003 to 2007. Um, we basically it was the first Christian rock festival in Italy, and um, most of the people that came were non-Christians, locals. But I did kind of a shift. I mean, up until then, I had been in Italy organizing tours with a lot of the bands that I grew up liking. Um, Resurrection Band, Rick Kua, Phil Kagi. Um, and then when I started organizing this festival, my daughter, my oldest daughter, Whitney, she was like 15, I think, at the time. And I said, so what do you think about this band? And she's like, they're too old. I'm like, what? Yeah. And she was listening to like Zayo and a lot of the hardcore stuff.
Yes.
And I'm like, I really took that to heart because here I am, I'm organizing this festival because we really wanted it to be both evangelistic as well as encouraging young Italian Christians that liked
Yes.
rock music, Christian rock music.
Yes.
And so I did a whole shift. Back then, there was a lot of German bands, a lot of Swedish bands that were kind of doing hardcore, and so I was booking those bands. And the
Yes.
very first in 2003, I kind of did the mix. I booked Rick Kua, and because I kind of wanted to have the old bringing in the new. And
Yes.
I'll never forget like the lead singer of this band called Silence the Foe from Sweden,
Hmm.
who I gave them 45 minutes or something like that, and they all fell down after 30 or something like that. I think I told them, you guys got 40 minutes tonight. And they're like, 40 minutes? We fall over after 20. But anyhow, they were amazing. They were, and I'll never forget the lead singer was on the front of the stage and just watching Rick and his band and was just like soaking it up. And afterwards he said, that was so awesome. So it was really cool trying to mix old style, kind of hard
Yes.
rock and new style hardcore together. And so that was 2003. And then from then on went to 2007 where you came 2007 as a
Right.
special speaker. And then that was the last one.
Great people involved. Gaetano was there with you, and what an
Yeah.
amazing guy, and what an amazing opportunity to actually have him kind of heading things up. Yeah.
It was the whole beginning of Rock and the Rock was pretty amazing because I was with a pastor who had a real strong prophetic ministry. We were visiting. We get back to the States maybe once a year, and we visit churches that support us as well as our own home church has their conference. And I was visiting a church in New Jersey, and this pastor had a real prophetic gift, and he leans over to me at lunchtime and he says, Denny, you're going to organize the first Christian rock festival in Italy. And I'm like, how am I going to do that? And he's like, and you're not to worry. God's going to bring the right people to help you out.
Mm.
And the next thing I'm thinking is, yeah, but how am I going to afford that? And he says, and also, God's going to provide. Like, he's like reading my mind, bam, bam, bam. But the second part, God's going to bring the right people. I contacted Gaetano, who's he's a Swiss Italian. Contacted him. I knew him from some tours we were working on together from Switzerland, and booked one of his bands from Switzerland, and that he was managing. I said, Gaetano, I need a great tech crew. And at that time, he was working. Clare Brothers is like one of the largest, is probably the largest sound and light company in the world. He was working with their Swiss partner, and he brought a team of like freelancers that all worked for Clare Brothers Switzerland, and these guys were amazing. And I couldn't pay them, so I got them each a good case of Italian wine, sent them home with that, and they were amazing. So from 2003 to 2007, Gaetano always came, brought an amazing crew, and yeah, couldn't have done it without him.
And Denny, he has worked. Well, I remember he told me that he did a lot of concerts with Tina Turner. We're talking about really big events that he's been.
Oh yeah. U2. I mean, he was doing like with Clare Brothers in Switzerland. They did all the big shows, and he was working with them all. So having him and his experience and just such a blessing. So yeah,
Totally. So
yeah,
you made a switch then to Portugal.
yeah,
And man, I love Portugal. I've been there with you a couple times, and
yeah.
we did a festival there. And I don't know if you saw Jim Laverty just said hello to you. You
Hey
remember?
Jim, and then Kev was on. Kev Gross was on earlier. He was there with the Sanctuary worship team as
Yes.
well.
Yeah. Steve Casto. Yeah.
And he was, Steve was a bass player. He went off hitchhiking afterwards, getting
he
lost in the woods.
Yes. But we brought a team that one year in Portugal, and a great time. And
so what happened there was, I had booked a band from Portugal at the festival 2007. Well, I actually also booked them in 2006. They were called Triplet. They were an amazing punk rock band, Christian punk rock band. And
Great.
God just knit our hearts together like that with them. And we, again, I had bbeen told this in a prophetic word like years before, but I kind of put it in the back of my mind. I'm like, yeah, we're never leaving Italy. You know, we had been there for 22 years. We love everything about Italy except the bureaucracy and everything else.
Yeah.
But, negative about the culture, but we love Italians. We love the language. And anyhow, we never thought we were going to leave Italy. And I had gotten this word that Italy wasn't the last place for us. And then when God started making it clear that we were to move to Portugal, and originally moved to Portugal to work with this band to manage them and help them. And Maureen actually was the first one who came to Portugal to scope it out. And she came back. She said, yeah, I think that's God's calling us there. And so that's why we made the move to Portugal, and then started doing the Rock on Christmas festival that you guys came to. And had you also, I think we had you also do a seminar for a lot of the Portuguese Christian artists that I was in touch with.
Yes.
That was in our house.
Yeah. So really good times. I'm excited to talk about Steiger as well, because it's been a real encouragement to watch them boldly go into places and present the gospel of Jesus Christ in a very unique way. And so Isaac was just a small boy when he started playing the drums. And I remember when he started playing the drums. Yeah. And now he's kind of your boss there at Steiger.
He's my boss in NLM, and No Longer Music. In NLM, he's now the manager. He's the drummer, and which is amazing. So I think it's 2009 when you guys were here with the Sanctuary worship team.
Yes.
And Jim Laverde actually, because you guys in the house we were staying at, some guys like Rob Castles was there. And I think Jim and Rob were like, jamming, and then Isaac got on the djembe.
Yes.
And Jim, went up to him and said, hey, tonight when we play, I want you to come up on stage and play. And I'm thinking he could have been much older than like 10 or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah.
In fact, you said to me, if I remember correctly, you said, Denny, Jim doesn't even invite me to play with him.
Yeah, right. Yes. Yeah.
And he said to Isaac, he said, I want you to come up and play in front of a few hundred people because someday you're going to be playing in front of thousands.
Wow.
That was the word that Jim gave him, and that word's come true. So thanks, Jim. Really appreciate your input in Isaac's life. I'm so proud of him. He's amazing. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if we want to bring up that video now of the
Let's
band.
so set the stage a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's
So
talk about the history of Steiger and kind of what Steiger does. Yeah.
so what's really interesting is that the band No Longer Music started in Amsterdam shortly after I was there, because back in the '80s the punk scene was huge, and David Pierce, who started it, was just fasting and praying, how can I reach the punks in Amsterdam? And God told him start a band, and he never even sang before. I mean, as far as I know, I mean, but he was a very dramatic type person. I was part of a street theater group that he led, and so I was a part of that with him.
Yeah.
And then he started his band to reach the punks, and ended up getting a houseboat from YWAM. They gave it to him, and that's where actually the word Steiger comes from, because Steiger means dock. So the houseboat was behind Central Station in Amsterdam, and they started doing concerts on the boat, started doing punk Bible studies, and then the word got out that there's this punk band, No Longer Music, and started playing the clubs and started getting invitations outside of the Netherlands. Went to Poland. In fact, I think, have you been to Slot in Poland? You know about it if you
Yeah.
haven't been.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, Slot came out of the first No Longer Music tour in Poland, because it was so many young people coming to know the Lord from their concerts, and they're like, we got to follow these young people up, and so they had a retreat, and all these young Polish people, young people that came to know the Lord, came to this retreat, which then became, I think it's now like the largest um, creative arts festival in Poland. I'm not sure if that's correct, but it's one of the large festivals, and it's organized by Christians, but it's not all Christian artists that are there.
Yes.
But yeah, that came out of No Longer Music, and anyhow, they started touring, and then wherever they tour, because they started touring around the world. I mean, like they were doing anarchist clubs. They did a club in Sao Paulo, Brazil, that was a Satanist club run by two witches. That
Wow.
by the end of the night, these two ladies gave their lives to the Lord by the end of the night. Then closed down the club, but but
Mm.
there was such an anointing, and David is such an anointed evangelist,
Yes.
and wherever they were traveling around the world, young people were getting saved, and this movement started following the band. And then eventually they said, let's start a mission. And it started actually in New Zealand. Um, and then now we have the mission school in East Germany outside of Dresden. But then they started a mission because they said, we have to not only disciple um, these young people coming to know Jesus, but we have to train them to reach their
Mm.
peers. Because
Yes.
the problem was, we have all these punks, metalheads coming to the Lord and trying to fit into a local church, and it just wasn't happening.
No.
And
No.
so David was seeing that, and he's like, okay, we got to disciple them. Then we have to train them to reach their peers, and that's how the mission Steiger came about. And then it's the band was always still is a big part of the ministry.
Yes.
There's other bands. There's a band called The Unrest. That's kind of like, electronic rock, Prodigy type style. They're actually playing today in Polish Woodstock, which is the largest secular festival in Poland. They get
Wow.
about a million people that go to it. And they're doing kind of like, you remember Cornerstone, how they did generator stages?
Yes, yes.
That's what they're doing but now they call it Poland Rock, I think, because they couldn't use the word Woodstock anymore. That's what they're doing today. They're doing a generator concert in the middle of Polish Woodstock.
That is awesome. Denny, do you
Yeah.
remember at Freakstock in Germany when the punk guys came up and asked us to pray for Poland, that God would begin to move there and we begin to do the music and reach their generation for Jesus Christ? I remember us standing around them and laying hands on them.
I do remember.
And it's amazing the things that have happened there, isn't it?
Yeah. And so, of course, no longer music. Now it's called NLM. That's me after an NLM show in Romania last year, praying for a guy after the show. That's what we do. So we have the show. And at the beginning of the show is just a bunch of crazy stuff to draw a crowd. Because we travel in Europe. We travel with our own stage, sound and lights. There's Isaac. So that's our stage folded up. In the video, you'll see the stage totally open and our equipment truck. That's in Albania. We were in Albania. From that tour, we did all these small towns in Albania, and we saw, I think, 4 churches planted at the end of that tour, which is Albania is a 70%. This is our tour coming up. So we're going to be in Romania and Poland at the end of August. This year's, it's called the Modern Anthem Tour. Anyhow, so I tour with them in Europe. I help drive that stage or drive our vans, because we have 20 people on the road. We have 2 Mercedes Sprinter vans. So sometimes I'm driving the vans and still roading. God's still giving me strength. So I help set up the lights, help set up our LED wall, which you'll see in the video that we show. And we basically pull into a square and in 2 hours have the whole thing set up, sound checked, and ready to rock.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, set up this clip for us. I'm excited for people to see exactly what you do.
So this is actually around the time you contacted me. I was in Malmo, Sweden. In fact, you wrote me back and you said, I love Malmo. I've been in Malmo so many times.
Yes.
And so this is just, I took a little bit, with my iPhone, a little clip of one of the songs, because I thought it'd be kind of cool to just share a little bit of what the stage looks like. The song's powerful. The song's a powerful song. It's one of the new ones, talking about, truth has gone out of fashion. And it's a powerful song. And then you'll see we have dancers. We have, different props. We have like this guy coming out. He's kind of like a punk guy, and he has across his lips tolerance. So that's this show is in Malmo. So basically, we work with local churches or local Steiger teams or other organizations. We work with YWAM and other organizations. They get the permits. We pull into the square, set up, and then rock. And so this is showing a bit of the show.
Great. Well, let's roll the clip.
You so tolerant that say more lies and you swallow it. Can't you play so nice with your fake smile, with your fake love? You're so hostile. I can see the night you treat your sleep. You spread your life like a tragedy. Say what you gotta say. I ain't never gonna change. The truth is going out of style. It's no big cool. You can't keep me quiet. You spread lies like violence, but the truth will set you free. You will never silence me. I can tell this is gonna be an issue. Is this your safe space? Do you need tissue? Doesn't matter
So good, so good. Great to see Isaac there as well on the drums.
And
Uh,
he,
I
he
dreads, but he looks good. Yeah.
yeah, he just cut his dreads back. Now he just has like it kind of has the mullet in front, and then the dreads down his back. But he had dreads. He started them like shortly after you guys in
Yeah,
2009.
he was a little boy when he started them. I remember. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that is
yeah.
so powerful, and what a phenomenal ministry to the punk crowd. That is just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I've been all over Europe and outside of Europe, in Ukraine when I was on tour in Ukraine. We were. Um, it's amazing because, like I started saying earlier, the first part of the show is just all this craziness going on to draw the people because nobody knows who MLM is. Um, but the stage and all the LED screens that draws people, and then the whole second part of the show is basically a modern day story of Jesus. And instead of um, being killed on the cross, he's electrified on the cross, and then he raises from the dead. We have a coffin that he's laid in, and then comes up and he busts out of it with
Wow.
smoke and everything. And that's David. He plays that role, and then he preaches the gospel, and we're always seeing people coming to know the Lord. I mean, that's kind of what convinced us after we did the first tour with them in Portugal to join up with Steiger, because we were wanting to see more fruit. We were wanting to see young people really coming to know Jesus and being discipled.
Yes.
And man, a lot of the various Steiger ministries were seeing that. And then the mission school just started now in Germany, and so what the mission does, the school, what it does is kind of unlike some other missions. We have, I can't remember how many different nations represented, 19 or something like that, and they get trained, and then most, I would say 70% go back to their home countries. So if they come from Bogota, Colombia, they go back to Bogota, there's a team there. If they come from Brazil, if they come from the Netherlands, or they come from Germany, or wherever they come from, or the States, we have in Minneapolis a team there. They go back and they serve in their home country. And we have a thing called reaching out to the scene. So that's why and anybody who's out there that's an artist and you're looking to get involved more in missions, I would tell you to check out Steiger. By the way, that's in Sweden as well. That's our flame throwing bass guitar, kind of we start the show out with. But I get distracted by the photos. We train up bands and artists, not just music. We have visual artists to go into whatever scene they're from. So the visual artists go and they go into their scene. And the Unrest, the band that I mentioned that today is playing at Poland Rock, they did a show in the gay club in their hometown in Poland.
Wow.
And saw people coming to know the Lord and being discipled afterwards.
Awesome.
So whatever the scene is, Isaac, when he's not touring, he's in Lisbon. We're in the south of Portugal. He's up in Lisboa and Lisbon. And he gets out almost weekly to jam sessions. And it's just jamming with various professional Portuguese musicians and sharing his life with them, sharing Jesus through his life. So that's what we encourage, to get into the scene and share your life, share Jesus through your art, through your lives.
Absolutely. Well, very exciting. And folks, if you want to know more about Steiger, let's put that that link here on the screen again. Just get a hold of them, and there we go. There's
Well,
the
there
page.
should be also just steiger.org. You can go.
There we go, right?
That's the one to go to. You see info there about the school. you'll see a lot of things that's going on around the world.
That's awesome. Denny, my old friend, really good to see you.
Thanks so much. This was so cool.
Awesome. Good to see you. And Denny, please give Maureen a hug for me, your wife. Happy 39th anniversary.
Yeah, thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you are a blessed man.
Yeah, definitely. Couldn't do anything I've been doing all these years without her.
Yes. You blessed man, a wonderful wife, great family. I know them all. And yeah, you are blessed. Well, Denny, thank you once again. We'll have you back again. We'll do an update sometime at some point in the future, and we'll love to do that. And we'll bring Isaac on with you too, and we'll talk
Definitely. Yeah.
talk about ministry. That would be great.
All
So,
right.
folks, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it. We've got some good stuff coming up. I believe Jimmy Brown will be with us on our next podcast. Jimmy, the singer for Deliverance. And we're excited to have him join us. There's what we've got coming up, a few people in the future. Don't forget, at the end of the month, we've got our Rescue One Global coming back, people that we work with in human trafficking, and they've got a lot of updates to share with us as well. We work with them in food distribution and helping some of the families that are taking in trafficking kids. But we've got a lot of good stuff going on, and there you can see what we've got happening. Also, we're booking in September, and lots of great people that'll join us then. Folks, once again, don't forget, you are blessed. So go and be a blessing.
Hey everybody, Glenn Kaiser. I just wanted to say, if you enjoyed this particular edition of Sanctuary Live, hit the subscribe button. And recognize, too, you can follow on all the different platforms for Sanctuary Live. You can find all sorts of things and grow and grow. And by the way, the beauty of all of this is that we can do it loud because we're metal and we're family.